Hey folks, and welcome back to the farm. It has been busy here both on and off the homestead, and I thank you all for the well wishes I received in my absence. But although I have not been making content this past week, I have been working hard on getting the garden and farm ready for this upcoming spring season. The first order of business to tackle was the refreshing of the compost pile. On this day, I believe we had some rain in the forecast, either today or the day after, and I thought it would be the perfect time to turn over the compost, as well as add some layers and generally clean up what the chickens make a mess of every single day. This compost pile is made up mostly of broken down wood chips from the chicken coop, as well as leftover hay from the neighbors and garden refuse, specifically from the last summer garden, and kitchen scraps that never made it to the chickens as food. If I have cleaned the chicken coop recently, I also like to add a little bit of fresh chicken manure that I scrape right out of the chicken coop on top of the compost layer. And then when I water the compost pile in, it will sort of percolate down into the compost pile and just give it a fresh dose of nitrogen to help all this organic matter break down. And it was finally time to get the chicken tractor cleaned up from our last round of hatching chicks. If you all recall, I had hatched out some laying hens via eggs from our own flock last winter, and once they had been mature enough in the fall to brave the weather, they all made it out here to the chicken tractor until they were mature enough to either be moved, the hens, moved into our permanent coop, or in the case of the excess roosters, become chicken noodle soup. Just a few weeks ago, probably maybe more than a few weeks ago, we finally dealt with the excess roosters that I had been housing in here, and it was definitely time today to clean this eyesore up. Now, the past 2 seasons I have used this, I have just bought a cheap plastic tarp at Harbor Freight or Walmart. You can see me detaching it here. That's what's left over of the $20 plastic tarp from Walmart. This last season I bought a heavy duty one, but obviously as you can see here, that too fell apart. And I'm not opposed to buying a new one each season since they only cost between like $20 and $40. But my issue is with the way they degrade. It's like the sun bakes them dry and then the pieces flake away like little plastic spaghetti noodles or blades of grass. And that's not what I want all over my property. Little plastic pieces of grass that the chickens get into and they just sit there in the soil. So I am brainstorming cover ideas for the chicken tractor that don't require a more permanent installation, like plastic or metal sheeting. Because I'm not sure this is going to be like a permanent chicken tractor. It's not built very well. It is working at the moment, but I don't want to waste a ton of resources on something that may not last. Here I am doing chores that I don't love, but that signal a very good moment in the garden for me. I'm laying down cardboard here to be the basis for wood chip mulch, which I do every time I expand the garden. So I have primarily Bermuda grass here on this property, and although the cardboard does not last more than 1 season, the continued application of wood chips on top of old wood chips as well as this base cardboard does, for the most part, keep the Bermuda grass down, unless there's water located, directly spewing somewhere onto the wood chips. And then the Bermuda grass comes up, and it's usually either right in the beds or on the edge of the outside of the bed. So here I just save all my cardboard throughout the year, and I keep it under the barn. And when it's time to expand the garden, I come in, lay it down, and put wood chips directly on top. And that serves as the foundation for my garden. I just lay my raised beds over that, and I'm pretty successful in keeping the Bermuda grass out, although it probably does help that we don't get a lot of rain here. So I will give that caveat. And once that wood chip base layer was laid down, I started building the beds, which I have done a video before on, and I will link either above or below in the show notes. But I'm just taking some, I think they are 2 by 12 by 12s. I usually make my beds 8 foot long. I do not believe they had 8 foot long boards when I went to Lowe's, but I was fine buying 12-foot boards because these beds could be longer where they're going to be in the garden. It ended up working out perfectly, which I'll show you guys at the end here. They look pretty good. They're just larger than my normal beds because they're 6 feet wide instead of 4 feet wide, which is going to make it difficult to reach across to the middle of the bed, but I'll make it work. I'm happy. More planting space. And like I said below, if you want to know how I make these beds, it's super easy, super simple. Obviously, I can do it myself. I don't need anybody's help. And you can find that video below. And one by one, I am beginning to amend garden beds for my summer crops. Now I have started most of my nightshades, so my peppers and tomatoes thus far, but I ended up getting on another seed website and I ordered more seeds, and that was not my intention, but I had more seeds to plant. So I pulled out these old cheapy little Amazon seed cell trays that I have, which are only meant to last one season and they have clearly taken a beating, but I like to use them versus my bootstrap farmer trays. For like small seeding projects. That way I don't have to pull out the 32 cell trays from Bootstrap Farmer and waste a bunch of soil for seeds I don't need to plant. These seeds were all obtained from Sandia Seed Company, and I've got sriracha peppers here, audible chili peppers here, Halmundo Numex, which is just a jumbo jalapeno pepper, and some more green chili because I was out of those seeds. I used them all last year. And I got a Cherokee purple tomato seed because I could not leave the store without buying some tomato seeds. So here I am just seeding various things throughout this tray. I did double up on some of them, and as you can see, I like to multi-sow my seed cells, which means that I'm gonna have multiple peppers coming out of each of these cell trays, and then I will just separate out the tiny baby seedlings later and put them in their own individual pots. And on this day I got a couple things done, including filling one of my new garden beds, as well as amending one of my in-ground garden beds that I had taken all of the broccoli, cabbage, and cauliflower that was in there. I took it out last week. They were mostly dead and mostly harvested, so I just went ahead, pulled all the plants out, mostly cut them off at the roots because I do like to leave the roots in the ground. And then I did some pruning or pulling of Bermuda grass that was coming up in the walkway. I've discussed the various amendments I use in my garden beds before, which is kind of just like whatever I have on hand. But here I'm using an all-purpose fertilizer from Fox Farm, as well as earthworm castings, as well as a bag of bone meal that I found in the garage. So I just kind of throw whatever I have. I don't throw it in large amounts, so I'm not concerned about over-fertilization, but I throw whatever I've got in there. Bye.